On this episode of Cryptkowski Brothers went to the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota to learn more about Walking Sam.
A well-dressed man with ill intentions.
Walking Sam's roots can be traced back to a spirit in Dakota folklore known as Tall Man. He is a 10-foot tall figure with no mouth, no nose, and wears a top hat and suit.
And he symbolizes depression.
Walking Sam is said to trick teens, kids, or those who are vulnerable into taking their own lives.
Then he takes their souls and he hangs them on his suit.
Walking Sam has long been associated with the Pine Ridge Reservation. In 2014 to 2015, though, he had a massive jump in activity.
During these years, the reservation experienced problems such as crime, spiritual unwellness, and alcohol consumption at a higher rate than normal.
We traveled to South Dakota to visit the Pine Ridge Reservation, took a tour of Tatanka Res Tours, and asked them some questions about Walking Sam.
Pine Ridge Indian Reservation.
And we're going to take a tour of Tatanka Res Tours.
And after that, we're going to ask them some questions about Walking Sam. So, what does Walking Sam necessarily mean to you as a person?
Okay, so from what we've shared, just as a short time that we've been together, what Walking Sam, when you mentioned the name Walking Sam, it didn't really ring a bell with me or anything until you began to share a little bit more about the research that you were doing. And so that's when I made the tie to Tall Man, or they call him Wichasha Hanska, the tall being. And so then I began to tie together what you had said. And so to me, Tall Man is a Wanachi Shicha, a bad spirit. And this bad spirit has intentions of taking people's lives or their souls. And that's what a lot of people see before they end up either committing suicide or doing something that they normally wouldn't do, because the spirit takes over possesses them into doing these things. So that's how I made the connection when you said Walking or Tall Sam or Walking Sam. And that's when my daughter and I were talking about it, and she began to say, I've heard stories of that. And so that's how I made the tie together.
So, what do you think happened in the years 2014 to 2015 that allowed Tall Man to be able to go on the spree of whatever he was doing to make it for him to be able to do that?
I think it had a lot to do with the disconnect of our people from these ceremonies, these ancient ceremonies that I shared with you earlier. These ceremonies that tied us and kept us in balance, to not only to the surrounding, our surrounding, but also to the other dimensions, to keep the certain spirits out. They were able to do these ceremonies. But during that time, a lot of people was right at the time when our people began to just relearn these ceremonies. And so I think because of that, a lot of these entities were able to come into people's homes and lives and create havoc and destruction and enter the minds and spirits of our young people, taking control over them. And so I think that's what opened the door for that. Yeah.
So, about Tall Man, do you have any idea about why he might have eventually got the name Walking Sam?
I think I'm not too sure why that name, but like I said, he goes by many names. This entity, not only Slender Man, but in our language we call him Wichasha Hanska, probably because of his appearance, and I'm not too sure, but I think one of the young people that took their lives name was Sam, and so that's the only connection I can make is that. But yeah, he did go by a lot of names: Slender Man, Wichasha Hanska, Tall Man.
So, in some Walking Sam sightings or Tall Man sightings, he is wearing a top hat. What do you think the symbolism is for that?
Okay, so a lot of that comes was when our people changed from using the traditional buckskin shirts and leggings and things like that. Then they were given clothes from the Western world that included the top hat, and that's probably part of the transition. So, and even some of the old pictures you'll come across, you'll see some of the warriors in these top hats, in these tall. I think that's what they're called, top hats, and you'll see pictures of them using them, and so that's probably where the connection came from there, the two cultures. So Sam is in both. Tall Man is both in both worlds, and the reason why he comes to children is because in our language we call children wakayacha, like a sacred being, and so when they're first born they can't speak, they have a soft spot on their head, and so at this time our ancestors would say good things to them, keep them because they were blessed, they were gifts from the Creator. But as they continued to grow, they began to absorb these outside teachings, and some of them are good, some of them are bad, and it depends if their mind isn't balanced and their spirit isn't balanced, and that's when this bad entity can come in and take them because they're still young, just like you young men.
So what would you say are some other entities that are going around in these times?
So there's a portal. Our people believe in other dimensions, other worlds. So whenever the world is in turmoil, when there's a lot of confusion, like there is today, what's happening out there, these portals open and a lot of these negative energies can come in and take over, people's thoughts and minds, and so that's why it's so important to try to keep in balance with what we believe in is prayer, talking to the Creator, the Great Spirit, but also keeping in mind like this pejijota that we gave you. We notice in the Western culture, it's always take, never giving back. And so part of that, our belief system is called animism. So when we harvest, say, I was looking at this plant, in your world it's called a mullein, but in our world it's a pejuta, it's a medicine. It's has many uses. And so when I picked it, I just picked half of it. But then I had some tobacco and I laid it down there too, to give back to Grandmother Earth. So we know we need to begin to give back to Mother Earth. And you can do that by what we just shared up there. Look how we picked up some of the trash because nobody else would do it. And that's just like returning back to help Uchimaka, Grandmother Earth. And so when we do these things, then the world becomes back in balance. And when it becomes back in balance, and we have these protections in place, and that keeps the negative forces from coming in like that, because they're always waiting for an opportunity. If you're weak in mind and spirit, they can come in, and that's when they present themselves.
We meant to explore more of the Badlands, but our car's broken down.
Maybe it was the spirit of Walking Sam.
I think it was the alternator.
Well, whatever it was, we're just gonna have to use the footage that we have.
This episode, we talked about a lot more sensitive topics than our other episodes. If you or someone you know is going through thoughts of suicide, dial 988. Help us there. If you want to learn more or help the people of the Pine Ridge Reservation, search up One Spirit Pine Ridge.
It's not all bad in the Badlands. While there, we got to see some prairie dogs.
Next episode, we're going to the state that's not for everyone.
To search the waters for a cousin of the cryptid you all know.